Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Brian Anderson from the Growth Partnership for Ashtabula County, and welcome to the Profiles of Ashtabula County Breakfast Series. Our sponsors for this series are Kent State Ashtabula, Leadership Ashtabula County, the Gazette newspapers, and the Growth Partnership for Ashtabula County. It's my honor today to be able to introduce our speaker. He was one of the first people that I really got to know, sort of both professionally and outside of work here when I came to Ashtabula County a little bit over a year ago. I had the opportunity to go to high school with Jim's brother, obviously a few years ago, but so obviously I knew his family a little bit, and I knew his brother, and certainly, you know, Jim has a lot of those same qualities that I knew from Brian growing up, and what I've gotten to know his family as well. And as I've gotten to know him, there's certainly nobody who better embodies sort of a very strong pride for this community, and specifically this city. He grew up here, went to high school here, graduating from St. John, went away to college and graduated from Kent State, and then came back to start his professional career. And I know, having had the opportunity to know him and talk to him, that taking on this new role as city manager as he steps away from 6 great years at the chamber is something that he has certainly looked forward to and strived towards over the years. And I think Ashtabula City has a lot to be hopeful for moving forward and excited about. So I'm very proud to introduce Jim Timonere, the new city manager for Ashtabula, as our speaker for today. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning. Brian, thank you for that introduction. So, any questions? I do appreciate it, and I'm honored to be here to speak to you today. I guess we'll first start with confessions. My name is Jim Timonere, and I've been now an elected official for 35 days. I was born and raised in Ashtabula and graduated from St. John High School. I earned my bachelor's degree in marketing from Kent State University, and I worked in the Cuyahoga Falls and Akron area for a little while and returned home in 1999. My parents taught me the importance of hard work, education, community, and family. I'm now the 4th generation of Timoneres to purchase a home and raise my children in this community, as my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents have done before me. My grandfather, James S. Timonere, proudly served as Ward 2 councilperson for 26 years. I share his passion for creating a vibrant city. My wife, Janice, is a graduate of Miami University, and she teaches at Lakeside High School. We have 2 beautiful children, Jimmy, who is 6, and Jenna, who is 3. Because of our growing family and Jenna coming along a little bit earlier than planned, we sold our house, and we had the opportunity to relocate to any community that we wanted to. We invested in another home in the city because we are committed to the city of Ashtabula. I spent 6 wonderful years as serving as president and CEO of the Ashtabula Area Chamber of Commerce, and it was a time I truly enjoyed and learned a great deal about our area. I'm aware of the needs of the business community and the people who support local businesses. I committed my time and energy to helping make this community a better place for its residents. At one time, I served on a total of 15 different boards and committees throughout Ashtabula County and the state of Ohio, averaging about 20 to 40 meetings per month. It was a goal of mine to try to get off of some of those boards and committees, and it seems I've added on to those boards and committees as my new role as city manager. I ran for city manager because I felt the normal business of the city was being ignored. Personal feelings and agendas stood in the way of addressing the issues of our city. With a positive exchange of ideas, we can and will work to resolve important issues in order to move forward and realize the potential of Ashtabula. My vision for our city is a community filled with pride. All too often we hear we can't, we won't, and we're not. It's time we start to realize we can, we will, and we are. This is a historic community with assets other cities only dream of owning. We need to stop taking these assets for granted and have pride in our own community. We need to welcome our visitors and guests and do our best to keep them returning to the city of Ashtabula. This city was built by the creative minds of entrepreneurs. We have a great city for entrepreneurs to strive and prosper. To improve our local tax base and keep the government services we depend on, we need to do all we can to attract new businesses, and also, as important, to retain the existing businesses that we have now. We need to rebuild this community, stressing recreation, safety, and cleanliness, so our young residents will want to return after receiving their college degrees and make this a home. It is imperative that we have a blueprint to follow for success, so in 5 to 10 years, we are enjoying a prosperous community. Let me tell you two things that most elected officials will not. I do not have all the answers, and I will need your help. Secondly, I will not be afraid to ask for your help when I don't have the answers. A good leader is only as good as the people that surround and advise the person. We do have good employees that work for the city of Ashtabula. The contacts I've made because of my position as president of the Chamber of Commerce create another group of resources that I've tapped into and advisors that I've turned to for assistance. I do not believe the employees, the residents of our city, or the business leaders in our community have been allowed to express their ideas and opinions, which may allow the city to run more efficiently and effectively. I also do not believe that there has been a standard of accountability set for the departments of the city. Efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability. These are the core values the city manager must provide to its residents. Then and only then will we have a community people are proud of, that they want to help maintain and promote to others. We can be our biggest cheerleaders or our worst enemies, but the leaders of the city must step up and hold themselves accountable for the condition of our city. There is no quick solutions to our issues. There is also no other community with the assets that we have. We need to build a community which will attract and retain our young talent. Our parks and recreational areas need to be taken care of and revitalized. The city needs to maintain its own properties to the highest standards if we are ever to expect the residents to do the same. We need to help our fellow residents in times of need. We need to know our neighbors again and feel safe as a united community. We all have different ideas and solutions to every problem. The key to good leadership is being able to take those ideas, find compromise, and implement the solutions. It's time that we remove politics from our city government and work to solve the problems of the city. So that's a stump speech so far. So what's been going on during the first month of the first 35 days? I can tell you that nothing could have prepared me for what we walked into on day one. You walk in with your set of goals, your set of ideas, your set of plans, the people you want to meet with, and the phone rings and you end up finding yourself saying, "They did what last night?" So we kind of walked into a hornet's nest there in some instances. The biggest thing that we had to do right off the bat was the 2012 budget. This budget process, in my opinion, started extremely late. It's actually required by charter that the city manager present to council a budget by November 1st. This is something I've watched for the last 10 or 12 years of going to council meetings and being involved in these discussions and watching what was going on in the community. It's always been last minute. It's always been down to the wire. It's always been voted on December 29th or 30th. Not much vetting going on with the budget. So within the first 19 days, we were handed, right around mid-November, a little bit later November, by the outgoing administration, a budget that had a $2.6 million shortfall. As we explored that budget, we found out that there was a lot of wish list items in it, a lot of extra employees that we didn't have before, a lot of things that were asked of the department heads to just say, what do you want in the upcoming year? And those things were thrown into the budget. So we've been establishing new guidelines for our department heads to monitor their budget right off the bat. For the first time in a long time, instead of the department heads telling us what they felt they needed to run the department, we have given them a budget and are holding them accountable for staying within those guidelines. We do realize that things are going to happen over the year, unforeseen circumstances, trucks breaking down, fire engines breaking down, roofs that need to be replaced. And we don't want those guidelines to hinder what we have to do as a city and what we have to do to maintain what we have. But there is a new guidelines for accountability there. We've also, starting next month, we're going to reestablish department head and supervisory meetings on the first and third Tuesdays of each month, day after a council meeting. So we'll come right in with all the all the questions from the council meeting. We're going to have those department head meetings in my office. It hasn't been done in a long, long time, and we've actually got really good feedback from the department heads and supervisors that want to participate in that process. On the first one of the month, we'll go over the needs and the wants of the department, what's going on in each department, how the departments can help themselves. Unfortunately, we walked into a situation where it's always, went to talk to some of these department heads, we've been talking more about the other department than the department. And that's something we need to stop doing and really focus on the job at hand. On the second one, we're going to review the budget monthly. We're going to review the budget of each department each month. If there's more than an 8% variance in budget line items, there has to be an explanation that comes along with it. We've also redone the way we do our permanent improvement funds, where in the past everybody's always had their own little line item. For instance, the fire department may get $50,000 or whatever. We've kind of taken those numbers and lumped them all together, and now the departments will have to justify their expenditures. What we found at the end of the year was a lot of the departments were calling in saying, what's left in the PI fund, and just buying stuff to get rid of that line item. We're not doing that anymore. Everything has to be justified. We want it to make economic sense. We want there to be a return on investment for the purchases that we make, and we want our department heads to start thinking that way. And so far, it's been very well received. The other things that we've been working on is reorganizing a lot of the departments in the city. Not reorganizing to the extent that we're getting rid of any employees or doing anything like that. Luckily, we were able to shave that $2.6 million off and come out with a relatively balanced budget. The general fund did balance, and we have some carryover in our enterprise funds, which is the wastewater treatment plant and our sanitation department. So we're working on making those more efficient and effective. Streamlining the process, knowing who their supervisors are, knowing the chain of command. As we found out Monday when we had the snow that we had within the city, went out at about 8 o'clock in the morning and the roads were miserable. So we jumped on the phone, made a lot of phone calls around, realized this process isn't working. You got to call 6 guys before the first employee is called out. So now we call one person, that employee calls them out, and the process starts. We're just streamlining the process. We know who to call, we know who's accountable, and we know who needs to get the job done. The other thing that we're doing is realizing what we can and cannot do. A lot of times the city has put itself in a situation, yes, we can do that, yes, we can help there, yes, we can do this, without having the resources to back that up. For instance, right now, the county is assisting the Lithbridge Community Association with tier funding down in the harbor for projects that they have. The city just did not have the resources to do that. Hopefully we will in the future, but we just did not have the time nor the personnel to do that, and we really appreciate their help. And that's another thing that the city has to begin to realize. We need to reach out to our neighboring communities and figure out how we can work together. What resources can we share? What things can we buy together? Where we can help each other out. The two lines that you feel as you drive down Route 20 need to go away. What's good for Saybrook's backyard is also good for the city of Ashtabula's backyard. In the over 6-7 years that I was at the chamber and paying attention to what was going on, it always used to boggle my mind that if that business didn't locate within the city or within this territory, it just wasn't good at all. We've been heavily involved with the mall and trying to help things out over there, because we know out of those 900 plus employees, many of them live in the city and pay income tax to the city. It's important to the city to have that facility. So that's kind of the philosophy that I'm also taking with me, that we need to regionalize and think globally rather than just our own backyard. Lastly, and it's been talked about quite a bit, I have a couple meetings this afternoon about it as well, we want to finalize our first jet agreement within the northern end of State Road in Ashtabula Township. It's an important tool. A lot of people think it's just a money grab for the city right now. I finally sat down after we had many meetings of saying, well, how much money are we talking about here? How much, what are we going to be able to split? I can tell you folks, it's not a whole lot. But it offers that the future for economic development in that area by providing those sewer lines that are down there, providing some incentives, both that the city can provide, the township can provide, and the county can provide to keep attracting new businesses and grow the businesses that we have there. So it's been an interesting first 35 days. We're also working extremely heavily with our police department to address the crime issue. Obviously, the city of Ashtabula has been plagued with some bad things that have happened in the last year, and many of you saw the recent crackdown we had with a huge drug bust and theft ring that was going on within the city. And I truly applaud our police department for the hard work and effort they've put into this. Hopefully this month we'll be announcing a new program that's kind of mirrored off what they did in New York with the Broken Windows program. That's instead of going after the high-level guys, you start at the low end. You start with the smaller crimes, you start with the broken windows, and eventually, and as we've seen in some of these arrests, it's lead to bigger and bigger and better things that we've gotten information and intel from. So again, it's about priority. It's about management. Those are things that unfortunately have been lacking for quite some time now. I am truly honored to be working with the council that we have right now. I think I saw two of them here today, our council president, Mr. J.P. Ducro, and Ms. Ann Straman, our Ward 3 representative. I'm sorry if I missed anybody else that's out there, but it's been a truly great experience. Mr. Ducro and I spend too much time talking on the phone and meeting, but my philosophy is not like a lot of the past administrations. I try to keep council, or at least Mr. Ducro, apprised on what's going on a daily basis if there's things going on. The last thing I want is for them to be caught off guard or I to be caught off guard on something that hasn't been communicated. Those lines of communication are extremely important in city government. And I know a lot has been talked about with our charter and how archaic it is and how we need an overhaul. And while I do agree with a lot of that, I think you're going to see with the personalities we have on council now that this charter can work. And if you've watched the last 2 or 3 council meetings that we've had, you see it working. You see a lot of great debate. You don't see a lot of yelling and screaming, at least not yet. But no, I'm really looking forward to the professionalism that is on council right now and working together. We've got a group now that truly has put their personal agendas aside and is working for the betterment of the city. So I'm truly looking forward to the next 3 years and 330 some days for the first term. Hopefully I can be around longer than that. We're going to do our best to do that. But like I said, of utmost importance to me is the condition that the city is in and what we can do to continue to grow and prosper in this community. And as I said earlier, it's going to take your help as well. My door is always open. I've had a lot of great discussions with people that have just walked up to the manager's office if I've been in and had the time. I do return phone calls. That was one of the biggest complaints that I heard. So please give me a call at any time, or send me an email, anything like that. I'll do my best to respond to you and get together with you and see what we can do together to make this city a better place. If you don't mind, I'd like to open it up for some questions and see if you guys have any ideas or questions. Wow, covered it all. Great.
I'm an outsider from Jefferson, but I just wondered if you had any big surprises in your first month, things that you really thought were all set, found differently.
It's I guess like I said, it's been those situations where I've received some of those phone calls of things that happen that are just out of the ordinary, people that you wouldn't think things would happen to. It has been a shock to the system going from the private sector to the public sector. I shared that with the table up here this morning. Some tasks that usually took 15, 20 minutes are now taking 3 and 4 days as they run through the system. My mornings are spent about 20 to 30 minutes a morning signing purchase orders with 5 other people's signatures already on them. So there's a lot of redundancy, which is good, a lot of redundancy in the system, a lot of things that we truly need to make more efficient and effective. If I would say there's one thing that really shocked me when I came into office, and I say this with all the respect to the employees that we have up there. Again, I believe it has been a management thing for a long, long time. It was extremely disappointing to me how dysfunctional things were. I spent a couple mornings walking around and just saying hi to people, and well, what's he doing on the second floor? It's almost like the manager has always been secluded to the first floor. But asking for a lot of input and getting some shock surprises from the employees, those are things that have really kind of made me sit back and go, wow, these people have really never been asked. I mean, the jobs that they're doing, I don't want to know how to run a police department. I don't want to know how to run a fire department, but I'll help you get the tools to do so. And so we're trying to retrain the employees to think that way, to take that ownership of their department, not just come in and do the typical thing every day. How do we make it better? So that I think that's been one of the biggest surprises to me so far. Mm-hmm. Kevin?
Jim, I'm appalled there's no blacks or Latinos on the police or fire department. It seems like those safety service departments should reflect the community they serve. What are you going to do in the future to change that?
Well, when the time comes for the civil service exams or when those positions open up, hopefully we'll have a talented pool that applies. I know that the city schools, through the Business Advisory Council that I serve on, we have been, there was a group a couple years ago that was put together to go out and try to recruit African Americans, Latinos, everything like that to come to our community to be a representative of that. I think the bottom line when it comes down to it is you've got to get the people to apply. Whether or not that has happened over the years, I don't know. But if the opportunity arises, I do agree. It does need to be reflective of our community, and we'll do our best to see that through. Ms. Carlo.
I don't have a question, I have a statement. Just to make a statement, we look forward from the Board of Commissioners working with you this year and all the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations, and I had an opportunity to say that to you.
Thank you.
I'm impressed with the fact that you're ready for this community to take care of some problems.
Mhm.
It's a county-wide problem.
Mhm.
I hope this is the message to some of those folks out there involved in that to start cracking down. And I'd like to see other cities, audience cracking down, and other places in the county.
Mhm.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really nice these first 35 days. I've had several conversations with our county commissioners, Ashtabula Township trustees, Saybrook Township trustees. So we're reaching out to those surrounding communities maybe in a way that hasn't been done before. Because like I said, I do realize that we need to start thinking more regionally within our own backyard and how we can help out. There's been several conversations around the table in the office, well, how do we make this, that, and the other better? And a lot of times I just call the staff and I say, please call Geneva and see what they're doing. I mean, we don't have to look that far down the road to communities with a lot of success. So I know that I saw the manager and assistant manager here, so I'm sorry if my staff is bugging you constantly, but we really like what you're doing out there and would like to learn from you. So, any other questions? Yes.
Well, along the same line, I think one of your points while you were running for position is that you wanted to look elsewhere and see what had been or what is successful
Mhm.
in other communities.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel here and sort everything out because it was working successfully elsewhere. Are you, at this point in time with 35 days, how's that going, and do you have plans to continue to do that? Apparently you do.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the mottos in the chamber world is to do a lot of R&D. It's rip and duplicate, because it's been tried elsewhere. There's been a golf outing that had this spin on it. There's been, situations like that. Very much is the same with the city. We've been hearing for the last 4 or 5 years, and many of you know this, that the city doesn't even have an employee manual, a policy manual right now. So within the first week, it was just a simple contact to our insurance company to say, hey, you got a template that we can use? And you find the part that says insert here, and you add City of Ashtabula, and we now have a policy manual. I mean, it's not rocket science. So, those are things that, yeah, it's out there. We even looked at Geneva's policy manual. We've stole some things from there as well. It is out there. It's not where you have to sit down and create that document from scratch. There's a lot of good programs out there. One program I'm very interested in, and I'm going to try to make contact. I believe it's in Sandusky. They've started a program. It's called a Mow to Own program for vacant properties that are near your homes. If a resident, if that person takes care of that property, and the level of service they provide to that property then equals what is owed on that property, they own it. It takes a lot of grief from the city of going after trying to mow all these properties and putting $150 on the income tax or on their property tax and trying to track all that down and send all the letters out. We make an agreement with those neighbors. And in a lot of situations within the city, the lots when they were first built are much smaller than what's required to build a house on today. So some of them just have to be split down the middle, and we're doing a lot of lot splits and things like that now. But that's a program that I'm very interested in to see how it's working there, because I think it could have a very positive impact on the city.
It grieves me that I can no longer go to Walnut Beach. It is too unsafe. Beautiful, beautiful natural resource that we've never really utilized, and now it's an unsafe place to be. Do you have any ideas on that?
Unsafe because of crime? Okay, yeah. We do, and actually the Liftbridge Community Association, through the tier funding and the projects they're doing, they have the big 3 projects. One of those does include Walnut Beach. And a lot of it does have to do with the maintenance, with lighting, with making sure that we have patrol going on down there. The more activity you can provide to the area, the less crime that you're going to get, in my opinion. So how do we make that a vibrant place where people are going to continually go, where they're going to police themselves and pick up trash and rat on the people that are doing wrong, for lack of a better term. But yeah, there are some very big plans for Walnut Beach, some of which won't take a lot of funding. Some of which will, and those are things that we have to project out 4 and 5 years to make sure that we have the funds to do that. Not only in Walnut Beach, but around a lot of the areas of the community. It's one of my big concerns is we see the crime is everywhere. And those are the things that our police department is working short-staffed, but doing what they can to try to break up these rings that are going on in the community. And I believe they're doing a good job, but it is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of time to get that fixed. But hopefully this summer you'll start to see some improvements down on Walnut Beach. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I know that there are a few community crime watch neighborhood groups in the area. I'm the captain of one of them, but I don't know really how many there are in Ashtabula. And is there any way that you can get on your agenda that we could work the leaders of that, maybe get together on some of a regular basis with yourself or police officials to combine our efforts and ideas? It's difficult, to know who those people are.
Yeah.
The neighborhood group.
Right.
The other side of that is that they can also take more pride in their neighborhood and start to clean their neighborhoods up, and that just helps, everywhere. So.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. I don't know how many neighborhood watches that we do have in the city right now. I know that Mr. Saletti, who's on the police force, does help with that and help establish it. The Ashtabula Downtown Development Association has also set up a watch group down there as well, and even a policy manual of when you spot things going on, and a phone chain and all this stuff. So I was really excited to see them do that. People are becoming more aware. I know in the neighborhood I live in Deerfield off of Carpenter Road, I said it during the debate, we have some nosy neighbors around, and it's prevented some stuff from happening, and that's a good thing. And so the more that we can know our neighbors, and the more that we can get out and watch things that are going on and notice things that don't look right and report those things. One of the most disappointing things that I hear constantly with some of these neighborhood watches is, yeah, we did see something that looked kind of funny over there. Well, it was always after the crime occurred. Well, if you don't call us, there's nothing we can do about it. And that's been one of the things that, you're not going to get in trouble for doing it. It's anonymous calls, whatever that case may be. But if you see something suspicious, call us, and we'll, hopefully we'll have a unit that can get there quickly. But yeah, that's a lot. We hear that a lot. Yeah, we kind of saw something that was going on, and well, got a call. I mean, it never hurts to give us a call. So.
Yeah, just to emphasize that, Joe Saletti always told us to call that 911
Yep.
I don't care. The more calls we get, the better we feel because we know people are out there watching.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.